If you want people to take you seriously, your words have to carry weight. And I don't mean using bigger words or trying to sound smart. I mean learning how to talk like a leader with confidence. I've seen this firsthand. The ones who rise fast all have one thing in common. They don't know how to speak like a CEO. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how to do that, the 5 communication traits that make people follow you without you having to prove a thing. Let's get into it. Rule number 1, speak to lead, not to be liked. Say less, mean more. Most people speak to be liked, leaders speak to lead. And that's the first big shift you have to make if you want to be respected. When I was starting out, I used to word things softly. I'd say, I think we could maybe try, or I feel like this might work. And what I didn't realize was every time I said those words, I was telling the room that I wasn't sure. Now imagine your team hearing that version of you every day. They're not following your words, they're watching your certainty. Here's what I learned. People don't need you to be right all the time. They need you to be certain. So start speaking like someone who means it. Say exactly what you believe, not what you think people want to hear. Don't say, I think we could maybe test this. Say, the best next move is this, and here's why. Don't say, I feel like this might be a good idea. Say, here's the strategy that's going to drive the result we want. See the difference? One sounds unsure, the other sounds like leadership. Here's the mindset I adopted early on. Even if I wasn't the CEO yet, I spoke like one. I treated every conversation like it mattered. I spoke with integrity. I didn't speak just to fill the silence. And I made sure that every time I opened my mouth, I had something worthy to say. Because when your words align with your actions, you build credibility. And once you have credibility, people follow your lead. Let's talk about emotional control. There's a saying I like, high emotion, low intelligence. And look, I'm not saying don't have emotion. I'm saying don't lead with it. If you want to speak like a CEO, you need to sound like someone who can stay calm when everyone else is losing their cool. I've seen people ruin good opportunities because they can't manage their reactions. They'd get defensive, emotional, offended. And in that moment, their credibility vanished. Because here's the truth. If you can't control you emotionally, you can't control your decisions. CEOs, real leaders, they separate the feeling from the facts. They feel something, frustration, disappointment, pressure, but they don't speak from it. They process first, then they communicate with logic and intention. When something stressful happens, a team member drops the ball, a client complains, or a deal falls apart, the average person reacts, the leader responds. And that's the difference. Here's what I would do in a heated situation. I would label it internally, all right, this pissed me off. I pause, literally breathe, like even if it's just 1 second. I ask, what's the actual data here? What's the facts? Then I respond with clarity, not emotion. You gotta imagine yourself like a gyroscope. Everything around you can spin, but your center stays balanced. That's how people trust you. They know no matter how chaotic it gets, you're not going to spiral. And trust in leadership is currency. If you lose your composure, you lose their trust. So next time you're under pressure, don't tense up like a wall. Be flexible, not fragile. Absorb the hit, process it, and keep your signal clear. That's how leaders earn respect. The third skill, speaking with authority. Authority isn't about how loud you talk, it's about how intentional you are. When you walk into a meeting or start a conversation, know your target. Ask yourself, why am I here? What needs to move by the end of this? I never walk into a room unless I know my purpose. If I don't have a target, I don't talk. Because if you don't know what outcome you're driving and you end up talking in circles, and that's how leaders lose authority. Before I go into a meeting, I set 3 things. The target, what we're gonna be doing and deciding or solving within that meeting. The constraint, what we need to fix, whether it be a budget, a timeline, team capacity, and then the path, how we'll make that decision and how we'll get there. Then when I speak, everything ties back to the target. And that's what real CEOs do. They conserve their words and they don't say more than what really matters. If you want to speak with authority, treat your words like currency. You're either investing them or you're wasting them. So next time you're leading a meeting, open with clarity. Say, here's why we're here. Here's the outcome we need. Let's get to it. You'll notice instantly people perk up, the energy changes because clarity commands attention. Authority comes from knowing where your attention belongs. Speak from purpose, not pressure. Here's where most people mess up. They think leadership means having all of the answers. It doesn't. It actually means asking better questions. Great CEOs are basically professional problem solvers. But before you can solve a problem, you'll have to know which one actually matters. I see it all the time when I'm consulting business owners. They're stuck solving the wrong problems. They're focusing on the symptoms, not the source. So instead of trying to have the perfect answer, get obsessed with asking questions that actually reveal the truth. For example, instead of saying, "What do you think?" ask, "What data supports that?" Instead of "How's it going?" ask, "What's the biggest blocker right now?" And another great one is, instead of "Can we fix this?" ask, "What would it take to make sure this never happens again?" See how the quality of those questions changes the conversation? I do this constantly in my companies. I tell my team, if you bring me a problem, bring two options and a recommendation. Because leadership isn't just about identifying problems, it's about equipping people to actually think. And when you ask better questions, you actually train everyone around you to think deeper, anticipate issues, and take ownership. You don't have to know everything, you just need to guide the room towards clarity. That's real leadership. Now let's talk about the thing that kills most communication: over-explaining. If you ramble, you lose people. If you land your point clean, people will follow you. Simple as that. Over-explaining usually means seeking validation. You say something, then you keep re-saying it because you're afraid someone might not agree. Confident people don't do that. They say it once, clearly, and then they stop. Here's a quick framework I use. SAD. SAD. Say it, add why, decide the next step. For example, we're ending this vendor contract. They've missed deadlines 3 times and raised costs 18%. We'll transition to a new vendor by Friday. I'll oversee the change. Done. No fluff, no circle back, no over justification. That's what confident, composed communication sounds like. It's not cold, it's clear. When you speak like this, people stop questioning you and they start focusing on the mission. And that's the goal. Body language matters too. Sit or stand tall, hands within your core space, no fidgeting, eye contact steady, and of course, projecting your voice. Early in my career, I used to speak softly, almost like I was asking for permission. Now I make sure my tone matches my intent. If I'm confident, I sound confident. If I'm calm, I look calm, because the body communicates before the words ever land. Speaking like a CEO isn't about ego. It's about clarity, composure, and conviction. It's about being someone whose words actually mean something. So to recap, number 1, speak to lead, not to be liked. Number 2, keep your emotions in check. And number 3, always know your target. Number 4, lead with great questions. And of course, number 5, the most important, land the plane with no fluff. If you master those 5 things, you'll naturally start communicating like someone people listen to. And that's when leadership gets easier, because your presence starts speaking for you. So next time you walk into a room, remember this. You don't need to sound like everybody else. You just need to speak with integrity, certainty, and intent. That's how CEOs talk. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and keep leading from the front. I post consistently on this page to give tips and tricks to everyone looking to become the best business owner or entrepreneur or person themselves. If you enjoy this content, like it, subscribe, and share with others who might need it.